What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, today we're going to be focusing in on Bitcoin because we've gotten a ton of good news over the weekend, some things over in Dubai, we've got some purchasing news from Japan. I mean, a good bit of news here that I want to talk to you about, as well as what's happening from a fundamental perspective and a technical perspective, because we are seeing some pretty interesting things from all scopes. And so the goal of today's video is to just get a full update on what's happening in the world of crypto, what's happening with Bitcoin, so we can start this week fully caught up. Now, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Guys, don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin yourself on up to 100x leverage, you can use my Margex link down in the description below because you won't need to KYC, meaning you don't need to give them any of your personal information. You can just sign up and start trading and get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards when you do sign up with my link down below. And one of the coolest parts about it is that you can trade on many different forms of collateral, which makes the world of trading much easier. So do go ahead and check that out down in the description below if that's something you're interested in. Now, looking at the world of crypto, things have definitely gotten pretty nice over the last 24 hours, right? We're seeing a rather good spread right now, but a lot of the growth we're seeing right now are actually from meme coins, right? Brett, Bonk, Whiff, Tia, Sui, or not Sui or Tia, but Pepe, Whiff, Brett, Bonk. A lot of these meme coins are kind of leading the charge right now, and we of course do have your occasional Sui, Tia, Tau, Not, some of your smaller-esque, right, smaller-ish altcoins doing well also. Now, we are still seeing some negative, right, Hex, Maker, XMR, some of these other ones, but overall, looking pretty damn good on the day. Now, we are still in recovery mode. If you do go out to the weeklies, most of your cryptos are still down from the last week, and that is no surprise because we did get a little bit of a pullback last week. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. We did get a bit of a pullback, but we did see this market recover quite well, and of course, because of that, we did see, the majority of our crypto still looking red on the weeklies. Now, I do expect, of course, that as we move into this week, things should start to feel or get a little bit better, especially with what we're going to talk about in a little while here. And so as a result of that, it does seem as if things are kind of getting in a better direction. So recovery mode continues, but I don't think it will last forever. Now, speaking of Bitcoin's price specifically, let's actually take a quick look at what's happening from that front because it is rather interesting. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way down to the 4-hour charts. Okay, we're going to go all the way down to the 4-hour charts because what is happening right now and what has been building since October 7th or October 1st, so the last week is actually good. Okay, so what we can see here is that as Bitcoin's price did get that pullback last week and as we did start to make this move towards the downside, we put in what many people will call a cup and handle pattern. Now, we talked about this over on my main YouTube channel a couple times, just talking about, look, if this cup and handle pattern does play out, we could see a beautiful breakout back towards 65,000 bucks, so you need to watch it closely. And what's happening right now is that as this cup and handle pattern has been building, we've now not only broke the cup line, which is the breakout zone, but we've now come back and are back testing this breakout zone, which is a good thing. What you want to see is this cup and handle pattern do this. We get the break of this cup line, come back on top of it, drop back down, find some support on top of it, have an RS flip, which is a resistance to support flip, and then use that support to continue higher. If that happens, that is a perfectly executed breakout, and usually in a situation like that, you will get a move back up in this general sense towards 66,000 bucks. And the way you can find that is by taking the distance from your cup line to the bottom of your cup and applying it to the top of your cup line, and that does give you your breakout target again, sat right around $65.5 thousand. So from a price perspective, things are looking incredibly good for Bitcoin. And as long as its price is capable of finding some support on top of this breakout zone, which is currently, the bottom of it's around 62.3K, we're going to be in a great spot to be able to make that move back towards the top side. So a lot of good things happening with its price. Now, looking at this thing from more of a fundamental perspective, we can see that things are in, a rather neutral zone to some degree. Although we are making this beautiful move right here and this cup and handle definitely could execute, I'm not doing a ton of buying. And the reason being is because, well, we're not in the best buying opportunity right now. We're kind of just in a neutral zone. Now, the way that you can see that is by seeing that, of course, obviously, the crypto fear and greed index is neutral. So it's not in fear, it's not in green, it's not really anywhere. It's just waiting for this move, I think. I think the crypto market is waiting to see what's going to happen here. Is this move going to continue lower? Are we going to lose this cup and handle pattern and head back to the downside? Or are we going to build on top of it and then use it to head upwards? I think the market's holding its breath and waiting to see what's going to happen there. So not a ton happening there. You look at your RSI heat map. Currently speaking, 24-hour average RSI is currently sat at the neutral level, 49.48, almost as neutral as you can get. You look at the 1 week, a little bit below the neutral level, so leaning towards being a decent buying opportunity in the grand scheme of things, but not really, right? It's just kind of a okay area that we're in right now. Not a lot going on. You look at your visual screener from more of a micro view, and you can see that, yeah, although people are favoring closing their shorts and entering on long trades, there still are a lot of people closing their long trades and entering on short trades. So even, crypto investors are leaning a little bit towards the side of bullishness. They're not for sure that we're bullish right now. They're not confident to 100 degrees that we're going to go upwards. And that can also be represented by a liquidation map, because I'm sure some of these investors do see the fact that more liquidations will happen if this market goes down on the 1 day, the 7 day, and the 30-day right now. And that typically means that a pullback to the downside is extremely, extremely possible. Not likely, not probable, because of course we will eventually break out of this zone, but it is very, very possible. And so because of this, a lot of people are waiting with bated breath to see if this market does move downwards. Do we hold support here or do we not? And so because of that, from a technical and fundamental perspective, this isn't the most exciting market ever. We're just kind of sitting back, waiting and watching to see how this plays out here. But from a fundamental value-based, intrinsic value-based perspective, in terms of news and in terms of what's going on way behind the scenes, value is building right now. Looking at some of the news, what we can see is that people have been buying. And what I like to say is, in moments in which the price isn't doing a lot, right? In moments in which we're seeing a lot of instability or even stability, in which realistically there's just volatility in the sense that we're going up, down, up, down, up, down, but not really doing much, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, liquidation, 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 but not a lot is actually happening. I like to look in those moments to see what the whales are doing. What are the biggest companies doing? Because this could just be retail investors just being emotional, and they're pushing the price up, dropping the price down, pushing it up, dropping it down, getting liquidated, losing over and over and over again. But what are the big people doing? That's the question. What are the ones way behind the scenes doing? The public traded companies, the countries, the ones who are really pulling a lot of these strings. What are they doing? Because if they're buying, intrinsically, it is more likely that there is value being injected into this ecosystem in the world of crypto in general, because they are getting more and more and more bullish. Now, what is happening? Well, what we can see here, of course, Japanese public company MetaPlanet buys another $1 billion worth of yen, worth of Bitcoin, 1 billion yen worth of Bitcoin. Now, that's if my math is correct, it's like $6.6 million worth of Bitcoin. So not a ton, right? Not a ton, but they are buying. And $6 million, you're putting $6 million into something. That is a good thing, especially when you're a publicly traded company. We know that the Japanese market is heating up. We know that a lot of that Eastern Asian area has really been catching a lot of momentum in the world of crypto. So definitely seems as if that is continuing with some of these publicly traded companies buying Bitcoin over there. And I think when that starts to happen here, all hell's going to break loose. I think it's going to be great. Going a little bit forward, El Salvador continues their purchasing. Not a lot of exciting news in the sense that, what they're doing, they're just buying 1 Bitcoin every single day, and they are continuing to do that going forward. What we can see here, just in Standard Chartered, an $800 billion banking giant, says any dip in Bitcoin below 60,000 is a prime buying opportunity. Obviously, when you have companies that are nearly worth $1 trillion saying that buying this thing below around $60,000 is a good idea, of course, that's going to have impacts on the market, leading a lot of people to want to accumulate. Speaking of accumulation, even though last week was a rather red week for Bitcoin in general, we can see that iShares came in on $191 million worth of positive inflows to counter a lot of those negative outflows that we saw last week, which is very interesting to me, because although it's a red week, we are still seeing iShares taking strong. So I do think that that's a good sign. Just shows the value, just shows how confident people are. Now, some recent pieces of good news that we got, the biggest piece of good news that we got this weekend was that the UAE has eliminated the value added tax on Bitcoin and crypto transfers. Now, this was called the VAT tax, the VAT tax, and what this basically was that a tax that was applied on every single level of a transaction in which value was added. So whether it's the transaction, whether it's the production, whether it's the deliverance, whatever it may be, there's a tax that's added on each one of these steps in which there is value. Now, that is really the primary purpose of that is for the government to be able to collect as much money from each of these transactions as they possibly can. Oftentimes it's because they don't like that specific thing that's being transacted, or there's some type of intrinsic risk with it, or they're just being greedy, right? Those are just the reasons and why that happens. And so the reason why this is so important, the fact that they removed the value added tax, is because not only does it make it cheaper for consumers, it makes it cheaper for producers. So the people who are selling their cryptos will pay less, and the people who are buying their cryptos will pay less. oftentimes the people who are like being on the producer side of the transaction, when there's a VAT tax like this, they can usually write off that VAT tax, so they don't technically pay it, but there are extra steps. But the consumer will pay it. There is really no getting around that. And so what this does is it allows the people who are going out and buying cryptos and things of that nature to spend less money every time they buy crypto. And obviously, although it may not have a huge impact immediately, it will be a great impact over time because it makes it cheaper and easier for people to buy crypto. The UAE is an extremely crypto-centric place. It's a place where a lot of people go for crypto specifically. And so making it as easy on them as possible is a great thing. And I do think it intrinsically does benefit the world of crypto extremely. So because of that, that's an absolutely amazing piece of news. And then we did get this cool little chart that did release in which Bitcoin is the best performing asset so far this year, according to NYDIG. And that's compared to silver and gold, large cap equities, mid cap equities, real estate, etc. It ain't even really close. Bitcoin substantially outperforming, and it, because it's outperforming and because of all this good news, it does continue to add more value. Bitcoin gets more valuable the more valuable people think it is. And so because of that, it has been great. And so overall, there's a lot going on right now. A lot of good news, a lot of people buying. And of course, it does come with good reason, because at the end of the day, we are seemingly planning and pushing towards an upward move. And I do think that Bitcoin seeing $70,000, $75,000, $80,000 this year is still extremely possible. Sure, there's a lot of catalysts that will cause a lot of volatility, but I do think that Bitcoin can make that move. We've not really had a bad Q4 in a long time, and I'm not going to just start betting now that that's going to happen. So with that in mind, I wanted to just update you substantially and completely on everything that's going on from a technical, fundamental, and news-based perspective. Don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin on up to 100x leverage without needing to hand over your personal information, you can check out that Margex affiliate link down in the description below, and I can't wait to catch up with you all next time. Peace out, everybody.